Okay, I don't even know that I'm supposed to be showing this, but I was never much of a rule follower to begin with, so let's rock and roll, because I have access to YouTube's new self-rate your videos option on a channel, and I figured let's maybe help YouTubers around the world here figure out how they can get their videos to be more family friendly. And I don't mean cheat the system, but so everybody can understand what are the things that are causing videos to be flagged in a very real way, and what creators can do to make their videos make more money and get flagged less, and also understand why certain videos that seem totally benign get demonetized or get not suitable for advertisers. So let's go through it here, and we can pull up the actual self-rating system and go through exactly how you rate your own videos. So here is what the self-rating system looks like. The first part has to do with inappropriate language. So under inappropriate language, we have light profanity, like and other censored profanity in the opening of the video, title, or thumbnail, or occasional use of strong profanity like the F word after the opening. Then there's another option, strong profanity in the opening of the video, title, thumbnail, used for purposes of comedy, documentary, news, or education. So light profanity or strong profanity, I guess that's just volume of words. And then a third option, strong profanity used in a hateful or derogatory way. Now, this is just an option to click for your video. It doesn't necessarily tell you, is this going to be, G, PG, PG-13, PG, PG-13R? But I think we can deduce here that this one's going in ascending order. So the top one is going to be G-rated. That's going to be family friendly. You're going to be all right with a little bit of light profanity, and then it's going to go up the chain. The next one we can see below is, okay, we have a bucket for adult content. And what are our options for adult content? In adult content, we have three options to click: romance or kissing, discussions of romantic relationships or sexuality without reference to intercourse, moderately sexually suggestive content that may include limited clothing, sensual dancing, non-graphic sex education, or music video containing sexual content without nudity. Once again, this first option I think is going to be a family-friendly option. So if you're hitting the top two on these ones, and I mean legitimately in your video, if that's the only thing that's in your video, you're going to be fine. The next couple options, blurred or censored nudity, even if used for educational, news, or in other contexts, focus on the sexual body parts, even if covered, discussion of intimate sexual experiences, implied sexual acts, sex toys, without human contact or nudity, or realistic representation of genitalia is a different category. So I think right here we can already deduce that sex ed channels in particular are going to get a slightly more adult rating, even though it may be blurred or censored, just by discussing in a more intimate detail the sex toys or sex acts, you're automatically going to get dinged, even if it is for educational or news purposes. So YouTube's not making an exception here just because it's educational. And then we have the third option, of course, which is going to get you demonetized: exposed breasts or full nudity, etc. That's not shocking. The third category is violence. Situations showing hurt, damage, or injury. So once again, we have three options: mild violence, injury without showing blood or graphic content, dramatized violence as part of video games, animation, or music videos. So I think here YouTube is saying if it's in the context of a music video or animation or video games, you're doing a playthrough of a video game about zombies, that's fine, that's family friendly, we're gonna accept that socially for advertisers. The other two options, real injury or violence with blood shown as part of sports, academic pranks, quote, fails or animal videos, dramatized violence, showing excessive blood. This second option is interesting to me because they make a distinction here now between showing playthroughs of video games and fail videos. So fail videos are actually going to get a more adult rating than a walkthrough maybe of a first-person shooter game, in particular to how it relates to violence. So that's something to keep in mind. If your video shows somebody getting into a ski accident, even if they walk away quote-unquote unharmed, it's showing hurt or damage or bodily injury and is more likely to get flagged. Let's go on to the next, and then there's severe real injury. Of course, that's never going to pass the gumption of YouTube's ad-friendly bots. So let's go to harmful or dangerous acts now. What are the categories there to rate our videos? Harmful or dangerous acts, stunts or acts that are slightly dangerous but performed in a professional and controlled environment where no one is seriously injured. Okay, so it makes sense. Like even advertisements sometimes show people skydiving, sometimes there's crazy stunts with skateboards. Any video of Tony Hawk, of course, is going to be family friendly, G-rated. That makes sense. What's our second option? Content showing but not focusing on physical harm or distress, including acts done in a non-professional or non-controlled environment. And then the third one, focus on accidents, pranks, or stunts that have health risks like drinking or eating non-edibles, or discussion of trending videos that show this type of content. So this is interesting. They're making a few distinctions here if you read between the lines. That the Tony Hawk video, or you doing a kickflip 360 down your sidewalk, totally fine. That's going to be advertiser friendly. You can rate that. But if you do something that seems irresponsible and either a manual reviewer deems it irresponsible, that's going to get flagged. So it looks like you're taking undue risky behavior. They don't seem like a stunt coordinator or some professional. That's going to be less family friendly. And then 3, the most extreme of these, is focuses on accidents or pranks. So pranks, once again, is going to get you demonetized. But 2, talking about and discussing pranks oftentimes is a discussing of trending videos that show this type of content. So even if it's those videos where it was like eat a cinnamon challenge, right? Where you see these people trying to eat a spoonful of cinnamon and spitting it all out. This may fall under dangerous acts. And even if you're discussing the trend, or maybe you're talking about how people are eating Tide Pods, it says here explicitly, discussion of trending videos that show this type of content. So even if you're newsworthy, right, or educational, and you're saying, don't eat Tide Pods, and you show some examples of people being foolish on the internet, that's probably going to get you flagged and demonetized. Simply even discussing these is how YouTube views it as non-advertiser friendly. Let's go to drug-related content, as that's the next option. So drug-related content. First option is education, music statements, or humorous references about drugs or drug paraphernalia that doesn't promote or glorify them. Sketch comedy. Probably music videos are going to fall into this category too, because you could argue it's just setting a theme or setting. So yeah, those are going to pass the system and be viewed as advertiser friendly. The second 2 options, though, are once again interesting. Here we can glean some insight about, like, for instance, the recent videos talking about vaping and why these videos keep getting demonetized. I made a video on vaping that was, I would argue, educational and newsworthy. That was demonetized. Coffee Break made a video on vaping that was demonetized, and he was like, YouTube, what the heck, why is this demonetized? Well, this explains why it was demonetized. And I can't remember his name, even though we were just texting the other week. Steven. So, Steven, if you're watching this video, here's why. Perhaps you don't have access to this. If you do, now you understand. But the second option you have to click here when rating your video on drug-related content focusing on the display or the effects of drug consumption or the fabrication or distribution of drugs or drug paraphernalia in the context of music, comedy, news, education, or a documentary. So, even if you're using it within the context of news, education, or documentary, if you're focusing on it, if you're making it the focus of your video, whether you're talking about vaping or legalizing weed and marijuana, or what states vary law by law, this is probably going to fall into that second category and make it not advertiser friendly. Once again, we're in a middle range, but my guess is that's why those videos specifically focusing on vaping have continually gotten demonetized by multiple different creators with an educational perspective. And then the third one, content showing or discussing abuse, buying, making, selling drugs. Yeah, of course, that's going to not be advertiser friendly. I don't think anybody would be shocked by that. Let's go down to hateful content. Hateful content. First option, references to a marginalized group that are made in a non-hurtful manner as part of a public debate or a comedic context. So this one's interesting because the second option, content that may be offensive to a marginalized group but is used for education, news, or documentary. So once again, YouTube is making a distinction here between references to a marginalized community that are non-harmful versus content that may be offensive to a marginalized group, even though it's used for education, news, or documentary. And content that may be offensive is a pretty loose and subjective term. I think that basically leaves it open for YouTube to say, if we view like people on Twitter are going to go haywire for you discussing this, even if it's for education or even if it's discussing trans rights in bathrooms, or it's Steven Crowder talking about Carlos Maza on Vox, because it's educational, it's news, nonetheless, it's falling under the second category that it can be deemed offensive by that marginalized group, and arguably that marginalized group gets to decide, right or wrong, they get to decide whether they are indeed offended by it. Most stuff, anytime you're talking about anything political, particularly hot button issues in politics, like anything Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder, any of these kinds of things are probably going to wind up in that second category. Naturally, that's how the bot is at least reading it algorithmically, is it's scanning the videos and it's finding that the content may be offensive to a marginalized group, but is used for educational news or documentary. So that's why these, once again, are getting flagged, even though they seem often benign. They're not really hateful, hate speech content, even though hate speech isn't really a thing, at least in U.S. law. I think most reasonable viewers would say, like, yeah, that's like hate speech, like we should allow it, people should be able to say whatever they want, but we all kind of have an idea what hate speech is, right? And that's the third option, is that hate or discrimination toward a protected group based on race, age, or other natural characteristics. Like a very directed vitriolic video, of course, is going to get automatically demonetized and flagged. But that middle ground, content that may be offensive to a marginalized group but is used for educational news or documentary, meaning it's not hate speech, but perhaps the marginalized group may find it offensive. Therefore, hey, this may not be advertiser friendly, you got to check that box. Or you don't have to, but this gets into what we'll talk about at the end. So firearm-related content. They have an entire category about firearms, and they only have two options here. Content that shows gun fabrication or modification, promotes gun makers or outlets, or facilitates the sale of guns. They've reversed it here. I think this top one means you're automatically going to get flagged and demonetized if you click that one. The second one, hunting-related content or guns shown in a safe environment like a shooting range, that one you're probably safe. The second option, I think, just intuitively, they're going to allow as family-friendly, or at least allow ads to run on it. It's the first one that shows any sort of fabrication or modification of guns. That's going to get it flagged and demonetized. Let's look at sensitive issues now. You can see there's quite a lot of different buckets here. Sensitive issues. So once again, we have two options. Discussions of modern acts of terror, events resulting in catastrophic loss of human life, or controversial social issues. Analysis of or opinion around serious and topical events not described above. So sensitive issues is probably the last catch-all net, because they're pretty open-ended and subjective. So the first one, discussions of modern acts of terror. So we discussed 9/11, right? I guess that means it's demonetized. If we discuss the war in Syria, I guess that's demonetized. Even if it's news or educational worthy, I guess they don't even say. They just say a discussion of modern acts of terror resulting in catastrophic loss of human life. Does that mean if you're talking about Chernobyl, a historical event, is that going to get demonetized? Maybe, indeed. They caveat it with, or controversial social issues, which is a very loose definition. What are controversial social issues? Once again, it's probably whatever YouTube deems hot button issues at the moment. This circles back to speech that marginalized groups might find offensive. The second option, analysis of or an opinion around a serious and topical events not described above. This one, I think the Chernobyl is an interesting topic, right? Because it was considered a catastrophe and there was loss of life, but does it go back far enough in history where it's no longer considered a current event or topical event, and therefore you can categorize it under history, and therefore it's family friendly? It's not like we're talking about World War I or something. We're talking about Chernobyl, and in that case, I find it interesting how a manual reviewer at YouTube would view a discussion on Chernobyl. So anyway, that's sensitive issues. That's a pretty hard one to get around. I think a lot of videos are going to wind up, quote, discussing controversial social issues. Once again, this is why a lot of political commentators, Jordan Peterson's, the catch-alls of these people wind up demonetized. I would imagine Joe Rogan often winds up demonetized under these sensitive issue bucket. But then you have an option right below, which is none of the above. So if your video doesn't really suit any of these and it's just a review of the new iPhone, great, you can click none of the above. And then once you click none of the above, revenue potential on, eligible revenue sources, ads, great, YouTube Premium, great, other YouTube revenue like merchandise, great. And then it says what happens next. So this is interesting, I find. We'll consider your input in our automated review. As you build your rating accuracy, we can rely on your input even more. So what they do is they let you rate your videos, and then they're going to run the bot through it at the same time and see if how you rate it matches the way the bot rates it. And then, if they disagree, you can appeal, of course, as a manual appeal, and then you can have a YouTube manual reviewer, and if the YouTube manual reviewer agrees with you, they log your actual self-rated review, and if you build up a track record of being honest and being accurate in your review of videos, they stop with the bot just automatically scanning your videos over time and just go on your word. So they're giving you a little inch at a time. They're seeing like, okay, is this content creator being honest, and are they being accurate? Maybe they're making a mistake. Maybe you think it's not controversial, but YouTube views it as a controversial issue, and so it's going to override you. And that's going to hurt you, because that's going to show then a track record of not aligning your self-assessment of your videos, not aligning with YouTube's manual reviewers of the videos. And you can click your rating accuracy, and it'll show other videos that you rated, that have been rated by a computer or machine, and whether they agreed with you. I blurred out the videos, but you can see here it's keeping a log of your track record. Anyway, hopefully this was insightful or helpful. I know Nerd City just did an excellent video on YouTube's rating system, and they do some excellent work on trying to understand, YouTube's monetization policies, its advertising policies, its rating systems. Hopefully this offers insights to all the YouTubers that don't have access to the same back-end analytic tools or special services that I happen to have some keys to. Hopefully you found this insightful. Click like or subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys. Tune back in tomorrow for back to our usually scheduled programming content on discussing the ins and outs of New York City, United States media and industrial complex. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.